Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 161st episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. While Digable Planets isn't an act I've discussed at length on the page up until now, I technically did have one member from this group on the channel way back in my first 10 or 15 uploads. I believe it was actually the very first modern hip-hop album I covered, which was Black Up by Shabazz Palaces. That experimental hip-hop outfit was the brainchild of multi-instrumentalist Tendai Baba Maraye, who may have adopted the moniker Palasier Lazaro for that project, but long before that abstract and futuristic duo, he actually began his origin story as Butterfly, a core member of this forward-thinking trio that first made their mark on the genre more than 15 years before he would reinvent himself. This included three talented artists who all came from very politically charged and musically involved families, those being the MCs Butterfly, Ladybug Mecca, and Doodlebug, who all adopted insect-themed names as a reference to how bugs often will work together toward the betterment of their community, which I think is a pretty dope metaphor that their music embodies perfectly. All three members are highly proficient as rappers, and together they formed one of the many groups that grew from the tree of influence the native tongues had begun to plant the decade prior by taking many of the same themes and influences but expanding on them in their own unique way. Some of these artists that shared De La Soul or A Tribe Called Quest's affinity for Afrocentrism, positivity, and racial unity were acts like Arrested Development, Common, and of course The Roots. But they also took heavy inspiration from the work DJ Premier was doing with GameStar at the time. That jazzy boom bap element was essential to the Digable Planet sound, and I'm guessing Guru also had a sizable impact on these guys, as they similarly deliver their rhymes with this cool, laid-back attitude that separated them from a lot of the grimy, more hardcore hip-hop that was starting to take over. Their first album, Reachin' or A New Reputation of Time and Space, dropped right at this nexus point in the midst of what's arguably the genre's most productive year, 1993. This is where they initially made a splash in the game, though their pretty popular single, Rebirth of Slick, better known as Cool Like Dat, has a music video that actually kind of highlights my earlier observation as the smoky lounge scene with the black and white filter is a pretty fitting representation of the mental scene that this album transports me to. While the debut LP largely introduced Butterfly, Ladybug Mecca, and Doodlebug to the rap world, they knew the follow-up couldn't just hover around the same level its predecessor did. It probably would have been more than enough that each member was already growing as a writer and performer to just crank out a new batch of songs similar to the previous set, but instead the trio opted to go the more difficult but rewarding route, where they not only take the rapping and production quality up a notch or two, they also get marginally more creative and willing to experiment. Certain risks that they take on here are the type of musical liberties you don't often hear from hip-hop or even the bulk of popular music in general. These long, winding song structures are the type of thing you'd hear on a more traditional Louis Armstrong LP or something, or even a couple of the relatively tamer Frank Zappa releases. I mean, literally the first thing you hear on this entire project are these blaring horns that have you standing at attention right from the jump, and further display the wide musical selection Butterfly was privy to from his family's record collection, as he actually doubles as the producer for many of the songs in Digable Planet's short but packed discography. If there's one thing DP never fails to do, it's create an infectious and intoxicating vibe through the addictive sample loops as well as the harmony of the members, especially Butterfly and Mecca when they rap a certain line or mantra simultaneously, which happens relatively frequently over both albums. What I love about Blowout Comb especially is how I truly feel like you could remove all of the rapping and it would still flow insanely well, but not really in the same way an instrumental album like Donuts or Since I Left You plays. Instead, to me, the adventurous song lanes and the way the tracks are structured lend themselves a bit more to progressive jazz. And I think the positive reception and support he got for taking those risks gave Butterfly the confidence to branch out and take even grander chances with his future endeavors. I wanted to share some of my favorite bars to come from this classic, the first being Ladybug Mecha's starting verse that opens up the second track, which very well may have my favorite instrumental on the entire thing. Mecha hits it out of the park with, "So now let's let in two in my pocket pack, pummel and I epic, black ethic lack, I walk again, you were shade gray, come display mazes in black, fire in the west, shit is shaking its fly, I'm in lookies when I'm pushing vinyl time, up the fort where I'm caught, and my thoughts to shaking up a few loose, now I let my cause shoot, KRS-One, 'cause we fade in and out, are you swinging or coming?" I'm solid on this thought, this ain't living. It's heavy, every setback, even when I was a shorty. Now we catch you in your four, thrice, check me in another place, space and joy. Nothing you could serve could ever ace me, boy. The other two MCs have plenty of killer bars on their own, one example being the lines Doodlebug starts his verse off with, rapping, "I got Harlem on my mind, Darren on my back, Brooklyn in my blood, and Butters on the track. I got insect thoughts, catch the cool ways, clouds of purple haze, keep me in a daze. The jazz, the jive, the poetry, the style, the lingo, the bags of equality. Many different things try to get to me, but in a world of hard rock, I keep my humility." Finally, I wanted to give a bit of Butterfly's verse that finishes off this epic 7-minute track, where he says, "In the east I rose, froze in the pose of a land diseased, flows that cooler summer breeze. Nikki did Kevin's braids, we got four in the lack as we swoop at warp 7. Holler don't crowd cats, 'cause look, Corpy is the color and butter he do it low. All you hear is poppers and rubbers, I'm saying oh, and we keep it poppin' on hot days, shit. I got the fish eggs droppin' any block you dip." All of the production on here is done in-house with the assistance of Dave Darlington, but there are actually a few notable names that do show up for guest appearances, including Guru of Gangstar himself, Sarah Ann Webb, Monica Payne, Suleiman, DJ Jazzy Joyce, and another Gangstar Foundation affiliate, Jeru the Damager. For my top 3 favorite tracks on this one, I would probably have to choose Black Ego, Jetton, and Burrow Check. When it comes to honorable mentions, I have to shout out a handful of songs, including Slow's Comb / The May 4th Movement starring Doodlebug, Ninth Wonder or Blackitalism, Graffiti, High and Fly, Dog It, The Art of Easing, Four Corners, and Agent 7 Creamy Spy Theme / Dial 7 Axioms of Creamy Spies / NY21 Theme. Thank you for watching my 161st video. Next time we're returning to California to talk about one of the most successful West Coast G-Funk duos. So look out for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off this mentally and socially conscious gem are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Such a thing. Look, I stand in the flame of a feeling we call pain. Father's Day mug, little hand shaped the clay. Carrier planes flew overhead in pockets.